He never wanted to be a hero. He just wanted to help. But that small gesture would set off a chain of events that would change his life forever. On a sunny afternoon, with the thick heat of late spring making the air heavy, Noah Williams hurried across the university campus. The scorching sun had students seeking shade whenever possible, but Noah didn't have time to worry about that. He carried a stack of borrowed library books, trying to balance them in his arms as he made his way to the study room. Noah was a scholarship student. The university of his dreams had given him a chance, but in return, it demanded nothing less than perfection. It wasn't easy. Between long hours of studying, he worked part-time at a nearby cafe to support himself. Failure wasn't an option. There was no plan B. He was used to studying alone, until that afternoon. As he passed through the science building hallway, he noticed a group of students murmuring in frustration in front of a whiteboard covered in complicated equations. Advanced calculus. The nightmare of many. Noah recognized one of the guys, Ben, a first-year student looking distressed, holding his head in his hands. "Man, we're screwed," Ben grumbled to a friend. "The professor explained everything so fast I barely had time to write down the formulas. The exam's in 3 days. Noah hesitated. He had things to do. But on impulse, he stepped closer. "Need some help?" he asked, shifting the books in his arms. The students turned to look at him. Some frowned. Others looked relieved. "He's one of the top students here," someone whispered. Ben blinked, hopeful. "You understand this stuff?" Noah sighed, adjusting his backpack strap. He knew how tough it was to face a challenge like this without a guide. He'd been there before. "I think I can explain it in a way that makes more sense." And just like that, in that unassuming moment, something far bigger than Noah could have ever imagined began. Noah placed his books on a nearby table and grabbed a marker. He could feel the students' eyes on him, some curious, others doubtful. He wasn't a teacher, but over the years, he had learned something important. Sometimes the problem wasn't the subject itself, but the way it was explained. "All right, let's start from scratch." He drew a simple graph on the board. "What exactly didn't you understand?" Ben and the others exchanged glances before one of the students, a girl with her hair tied up in a messy bun, hesitantly spoke up. "Everything?" Noah chuckled lightly. "All right then, we'll take it step by step." He started going over the material calmly, without rushing, translating the equations into real-life examples. When he noticed confused expressions, he adjusted his approach, using simple analogies. Slowly, the tense faces began to relax. "Oh, now it makes sense!" Ben exclaimed, his eyes lighting up. Noah smiled. He liked that feeling, the moment when someone finally understood something that had seemed impossible. For almost 2 hours, he explained concepts, answered questions, and without even realizing it, he had drawn a small crowd. Other students, passing by the hallway and overhearing his explanation, started joining the group. By the time he finally noticed, there were more than 10 people there, all jotting down notes as he spoke. "Dude, you should totally tutor," a guy with glasses commented, impressed. "No way." Noah laughed. "I've got enough on my plate already." "But this is basically a class." The girl with the messy bun grinned. "And it's free." Ben scratched the back of his neck, thoughtful. "What if we met up more often? This could really help a lot of people struggling with the subject." Noah hesitated. He didn't want to take on another commitment. His time was already stretched thin between studying, work, and his almost non-existent personal life. But as he looked around at those hopeful faces, something inside him made him reconsider. Maybe this could be something good. "All right," he said, capping the marker. "We can try meeting again next week." The students cheered. Excited, Noah felt a strange warmth in his chest. He didn't know it yet, but that small, impromptu study session was about to become something much bigger than he ever imagined. Noah thought that first session would be just a one-time thing, a quick favor for a few classmates. But the following week, when he arrived on campus after work, he realized something unexpected had happened. The room they had used last time was packed, more than packed. He stopped at the doorway, blinking a few times in surprise. Instead of the 5 or 6 students he had helped before, there were now at least 20. Some were sitting in chairs, others stood at the back of the room, and even two guys leaned against the open window, trying to escape the thick spring heat. "Whoa," he murmured. Ben appeared beside him, holding a water bottle and a notebook. "I tried to warn you, man, but you disappear after classes," he laughed. Word got out. There are even people from other departments wanting to join. Noah ran a hand through his hair, unsure whether to laugh or panic. He hadn't signed up for anything serious. But now, looking at those eager faces waiting for help, he realized he couldn't just turn around and leave. Taking a deep breath, he stepped into the room. "All right, everyone, let's get this organized." He grabbed a marker and walked up to the board. "If we want this to work, we need a plan." The students shifted, paying attention. Some began pulling notebooks out of their backpacks. "First off, is anyone here good at taking notes?" A red-haired girl sitting near the front raised her hand. "I am. I always summarize the professor's lectures into bullet points." Noah nodded. "Great. Can you prepare some materials for us to review at the end of each session?" She smiled. "Of course." He scanned the room. "And does anyone here have a good grasp of the first-year topics? We could split up the teaching, so it's not all on me." This time 3 hands went up. Noah pointed at each person, memorizing their faces. "All right. You'll help out when we need to go over past subjects." The room buzzed with excitement. Something was growing inside him, an unexpected sense of enthusiasm. This wasn't just an improvised study group anymore. It was a movement. That night, Noah realized he was in the middle of something much bigger than he had imagined. And as terrifying as it was, he didn't want to stop. The study group was growing faster than Noah had expected. What had started as a small weekly meeting was now happening twice, sometimes 3 times a week. The problem was, the more students showed up, the more chaotic things became. By the 4th session, the room was beyond crowded. Some people sat on the floor, others leaned against the walls. The noise from side conversations made it nearly impossible to start the lesson. "Guys! Guys!" Noah raised his voice, trying to get their attention. It took a few seconds, but little by little, the students quieted down. He let out a breath and placed his hands on the front desk. "We need to fix this. If we keep going like this, no one's going to learn anything." "We need more space," Ben said, looking around. "More space and better organization," the red-haired girl, who he now knew was named Emma, added as she adjusted her glasses. Noah crossed his arms, deep in thought. He didn't want to give up, but he also couldn't keep things running like this. Maybe it was time to take things to the next level. "Okay, here's what we'll do." He picked up a marker and wrote on the board. "From now on, we'll split into smaller groups. Those struggling the most will be in the beginner group, and those who already understand the main concepts can help tutor the others." The students nodded, seeming to like the idea. "What about space?" someone asked from the back of the room. Noah bit his lip. That was a real problem. They couldn't just take over a random classroom without permission. Ben suddenly stood up. "I can talk to the library staff. Maybe they'll let us use one of the larger study rooms." Noah smiled. "Great idea. And if that doesn't work, we'll figure something else out. The important thing is that we don't stop now." The whole room seemed to agree. They were in this together. That night, as Noah walked across campus after the study session, he realized something interesting. For the first time, he felt like he was part of something that truly mattered. He didn't know how, but he was sure this was going to go far. 2 days later, Ben came running up to Noah between classes, a triumphant grin plastered across his face. "We did it." Noah frowned, confused. "Did what?" "The study room." Ben clapped him on the shoulder. "I talked to the librarian and explained what we're doing. She loved the idea. She said we can use the meeting room on the 2nd floor on Tuesdays and Thursdays as long as we follow the rules." Noah blinked, surprised. "Seriously? That's amazing." Ben laughed. "I know. And there's more. She said that if we can prove our group is well organized and actually helping students, we might be able to make it an official university program." Noah was silent for a moment, letting the idea sink in. He had never considered making this something formal. At first, it was just a temporary favor. But now it was something real. Maybe it was time to take it even more seriously. That evening, when everyone gathered for the session, Noah shared the news. Guys, we have an official space. He spread his arms, grinning. From now on, we'll be meeting in the library in the second-floor meeting room. The room erupted in cheers. Some students clapped, others exchanged excited smiles. Emma, who was organizing notes at the corner of the table, looked up. That means we need a name, right? Noah raised an eyebrow. A name? Of course. Ben nodded. Now that we're an official group, we need a cool name. Students started tossing out suggestions, some funny, some inspiring. Then, a voice from the back spoke up. What about elevate? Silence settled for a moment as everyone took in the word. Elevate. Noah repeated, thoughtful. I like it. That's it. Ben smacked the table. We're here to lift each other up. Emma smiled, jotting the name down in her notebook. So, from now on, we're Elevate, the study group. Everyone cheered and laughed, excited about their new identity. That night, Noah felt something shift. What had started as a simple gesture now had a name, a purpose, and an impact far greater than he had ever imagined. The Elevate group was growing, and everything seemed to be going smoothly until the first problems started. At their third meeting in the library, Noah noticed that the atmosphere wasn't as calm as before. The noise was becoming an issue for other students. The meeting room was great, but its thin walls allowed sound to escape, and with more students joining in, their animated voices and discussions about the exercises echoed through the second floor. That day, as Noah was explaining a tricky physics concept to a smaller group, the librarian, Miss Reynolds, appeared at the door. Noah, can I have a word with you? Her calm and gentle tone didn't hide the concern in her voice. Noah exchanged a glance with Ben before getting up and following her into the hallway. I don't want to discourage what you're doing, she began, crossing her arms. But I've received some complaints from students who come to the library to study in silence. They're saying your group has been a bit too loud. Noah felt a tightness in his stomach. He knew they weren't making noise on purpose, but he understood the problem. I'm sorry about that. We'll try to keep our voices down. Miss Reynolds smiled understandingly. I know you're not trying to disturb anyone, but maybe you need a more suitable space. A more suitable space? She nodded. There are a few smaller rooms in the administration building that were used for student projects in the past. I can check if one of them is available. But to do that, you'd need to officially register Elevate as an academic group at the university. Noah blinked. Officially register? He had never considered that possibility. The group had started so spontaneously that the idea of making it something official felt like a big step. He returned to the study room and shared the conversation with the others. This could be an opportunity, Emma said, adjusting her glasses. If we become a university-recognized group, we could get more resources, maybe even study materials and fixed schedules without interruptions. Ben chuckled. And to think this all started with you helping half a dozen students in the hallway. Noah ran a hand through his hair. It was a big commitment. If they went through with this, there was no turning back. Elevate wouldn't just be an informal gathering anymore. It would be a real responsibility. He took a deep breath. All right, let's do this. 2 days later, Noah was sitting in front of a pile of paperwork in the university administration office. The process of registering Elevate as an academic group was more bureaucratic than he had expected. You need to define a mission for the group, list the founding members, and choose an academic coordinator to oversee the activities, explained Mrs. Hendricks, the administrator in charge of student clubs. Noah exchanged a glance with Ben and Emma, who were there to help him. An academic coordinator? Yes, the woman smiled. A professor who agrees to support the group. This helps the university ensure that the activities have a valid educational purpose. Noah sighed, rubbing his temples. And where do we find a professor willing to help? Emma adjusted her glasses and looked around as if considering something. What if we talk to Professor Carter? Ben's eyes widened. Carter? The guy who teaches theoretical physics? He's one of the toughest professors in the department. Emma shrugged. Tough, but fair. He values dedicated students. And Noah is one of the best in his class. Noah hesitated. Carter did have a reputation for being strict, but he was also one of the most respected professors at the university. If anyone could convince the administration that Elevate was a serious initiative, It was him. "It's worth a shot," Noah said, grabbing the papers. The next morning he went to Professor Carter's office. He knocked on the door and heard a firm voice respond. "Come in." Noah opened the door and found the professor organizing some folders on his desk. The man looked up over his glasses and raised an eyebrow. "Williams, what can I do for you?" Noah took a deep breath and explained Elevate, how it started and how it was helping students. Carter remained silent as he listened, analyzing him with a sharp gaze. When Noah finished, there was a pause. "You want me to be the academic coordinator for the group?" Noah nodded, trying to appear confident. Professor Carter crossed his arms and tilted his head slightly. "I have to admit, I'm impressed, Williams. Most students only worry about their own grades. Few actually care about helping others. I just think learning is more effective when everyone grows together." The professor studied his face for a moment, then picked up a pen. "All right, I'll do it." Noah held his breath. "Really?" "Yes, but on one condition." "What condition?" Carter gave a small smirk. "I want your group to organize an open tutoring session for all university students. If Elevate truly stands for inclusion, prove it in practice." Noah swallowed hard. That was a huge challenge, but he wasn't backing down now. "Deal." Carter signed the papers and handed them to Noah. "Good luck, Williams. You're going to need it." Noah walked out of the office, clutching the documents as if they were a trophy. Elevate was now official, and its biggest test was yet to come. With Elevate's official recognition came a major responsibility: organizing its first open tutoring session for the entire university. Noah knew this was a huge step. Before, he had helped a small group of students who came voluntarily. Now, he had to handle a large event, promote it to hundreds of students, and ensure everything ran smoothly. At the next meeting, he explained the challenge to the group. "We have less than 2 weeks to put this together. We'll need volunteers to teach, someone to coordinate logistics, and a solid promotion plan." Ben whistled. "Damn, Noah! We just wanted to improve our calculus grades, and now we're organizing a university-wide event." Emma grinned excitedly. "This is amazing. If it works, we could turn it into an ongoing project." Excitement spread among the students, but Noah felt the weight on his shoulders. If they failed, it could ruin Elevate's credibility before it even got started. The next week was organized chaos. Ben secured approval from the administration to use the college's small auditorium. Emma and a few volunteers created a tutor schedule to cover the most challenging subjects. Noah and other members printed posters and promoted the event on the university's social media pages. But 3 days before the open tutoring session, a problem arose. The number of students signing up was far higher than expected. Emma walked into the study room holding a clipboard, her eyes wide as she scanned the numbers. "Noah, we have a problem." He stopped reviewing an equation and looked at her. "What is it? We were expecting around 50 people. But we already have over 120 registrations." Noah nearly dropped his pen. "What?" Ben leaned back in his chair, laughing. "Congrats, boss. You wanted to make this big, and you sure did." Noah ran a hand through his hair, feeling anxiety creeping in. They were prepared to handle a large group, but 120 people? How were they going to make this work? Emma took a deep breath. "We're going to need more volunteers. And maybe more space," Ben added. Noah looked at the planning board, trying to find a solution. They were about to face their biggest challenge yet, but one thing was certain: they weren't going to give up. The open tutoring session was about to happen, and Noah knew this would be a defining moment for Elevate. The auditorium was packed, not just full, truly packed. From the stage, Noah looked out at the massive crowd of students and felt the weight of responsibility settle even heavier on his chest. Elevate had never faced anything this big before. The murmurs filled the air as students searched for seats, flipped through their notebooks, and whispered about what they expected from the event. Some were there out of curiosity, while others were clearly desperate to understand difficult subjects before their exams. Ben adjusted the microphone on the stand and glanced at Noah. "Dude, I don't want to freak you out, but there are people sitting on the floor." Emma, who was checking the list of volunteers, looked up and let out a nervous chuckle. "I counted at least 150 students." Noah took a deep breath. He needed to stay calm. Everything was planned, right? They had tutors ready, materials organized, schedules set. But still, what if something went wrong? What if he failed? Emma placed a reassuring hand on his shoulder. It's going to be fine, Noah. Elevate didn't get this far by accident. Ben clapped him on the back. And besides, if it goes wrong, at least it'll be a legendary disaster. Noah let out a laugh, relaxing a little. Then, he grabbed the microphone and stepped onto the stage. Good evening, everyone. His voice echoed through the auditorium, and the chatter died down. First of all, thank you for being here. When we started Elevate, we never imagined so many people would be interested in something like this. He saw a few smiles in the crowd. Some students nodded, understanding what he meant. But we're here for a simple reason. Learning doesn't have to be a lonely process. Everyone here has struggled with a subject at some point. The good news is, we can help each other. And that's exactly what we're going to do today. The students applauded, and Noah felt his confidence return. Then, the tutoring sessions began. The students were divided into groups, each with an Elevate tutor. Some tables focused on calculus, others on physics, some on academic writing. Noah moved around the auditorium, helping where he could, answering questions, and making sure everything flowed smoothly. And, to his surprise, everything was working perfectly. Hey, Noah, Ben called out, pointing toward a group in the corner. There are people solving equations they didn't even know how to start before. Emma walked over, smiling. And over there, a student is explaining a concept to another. They don't even look like they're studying. They're so into it. Noah glanced around, and warmth spread through his chest. This was bigger than him, bigger than anything he had imagined. Elevate wasn't just a study group anymore. It was a community. The Elevate Open Tutoring session was a success. In the following days, messages of gratitude poured in, new students asked to join, and even professors sent compliments after noticing improvements in their students' performance. What had started as a small study group among friends had now become a cornerstone in many people's academic lives. But Noah still had no idea that the biggest surprise was yet to come. One afternoon, as he packed up his things in the library, he received an official email from the university administration. Dear Noah Williams, we would like to invite you to a meeting with the academic committee this Friday. The topic will be the impact of Elevate on the student community. He frowned. The academic committee? This was big, really big. On Friday, wearing the best shirt he owned, Noah found himself seated at a long table where professors and board members evaluated student projects. Among them was Professor Carter. Mr. Williams, one of the administrators began, we have been closely following Elevate's work and are impressed by the impact your group has had on the students. Noah straightened his posture, trying to hide his nervousness. Thank you, ma'am. But I didn't do this alone. Everyone in the group helped. Humility. The dean, an older man with graying hair, smiled. We like that. Professor Carter leaned slightly forward. We're here because we believe initiatives like this should be encouraged. Therefore, the university has decided to officially recognize Elevate as an academic program. This means you will have your own designated space, materials provided by the institution, and, of course, funding to expand your activities. Noah's eyes widened. What? You heard me, kid, Carter said with a smirk. Your group is now part of this university's history. After the meeting, Noah was still trying to process everything when Carter called him aside before he left the room. Williams, can I share a secret with you? Noah nodded, intrigued. You've probably wondered why the academic committee decided to support Elevate, haven't you? Yes. I mean, I knew we were helping a lot of students, but I never thought it would catch the university's attention so quickly. The professor crossed his arms and smiled. This happened because someone believed in you from the very beginning. Noah frowned. What do you mean? For months, a very successful former student has been making anonymous donations to academic initiatives that promote collaborative education. He heard about Elevate and, let's just say, he made sure your work was recognized. Noah's heart pounded. Who is this person? Carter looked at him for a moment and then, with a discreet smile, said, Your scholarship. It didn't come just from the university, Noah. You've had someone looking out for you all along. A shock ran through his body like an electric current. An anonymous benefactor. From the very start, he walked out of the room in silence, trying to process it all. Someone had believed in him before he had even believed in himself. And now, with Elevate officially recognized and equipped with the resources to grow, Noah felt it was his turn to do the same for others. After all, that's what it meant to elevate someone, and he would never stop doing it.